Alyssa, if you don't mind giving everyone a quick biography for me, and then we'll go right into our. This is like our second or third, right?
Second, I think, yeah. And
Okay.
thank you so much for giving me a platform and chatting with me. It means a lot.
Of course.
I am Alyssa Mercante. I'm a freelance internet culture, video game, and tech journalist. I'm based in Brooklyn. Last year, I became the accidental epicenter of some sort of Gamergate 2 for debunking a conspiracy theory that was making the rounds on the darker corners of the internet. And I still do a lot of work to combat hate in this space, shine a light on marginalized folks making games, and yeah, I just continue to be a thorn in the side of the worst people online. Much to my detriment sometimes as well, but whatever.
You know, as somebody who has been fighting the scum of the earth since I've started streaming, I have a lot of empathy for you, a lot of sympathy for you, because, you know, my first stream, I was immediately fighting with these people.
Like, yeah, I bet.
It was like my very first stream when I had like 100 viewers. I was fighting fucking PewDiePie. Okay, so like I get it. All right. Now I would say that I won, but it's still a battle. We're still taking the fight to them, and so this is a big week. I mean, because you're you know, in this industry and you're so aware of it. What do you think of a lot of these right-wing streamers suddenly like seeing their viewership fall off because of Twitch cracking down on bots? A lot of them are now taking personal time as support for Trump is crashing among young people. You know, I just showed a poll earlier on the stream. I don't know if you saw it, but basically, you know, 18 to 29-year-olds are abandoning Trump in droves. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that there was like an astroturfing attempt or a right-wing moment and it's ending, or do you have a more pessimistic view of the industry and the culture around it?
Well, what's tough about this is, and this is something that I've spoken to like the people who work at Consumer Reports in Pen America about a lot, is that like all these social media platforms, like Twitch cracking down on view botting, right? That's one way of, you know, bettering the platform, what have you, but it's certainly not a way to crack down on, let's say, inciting harassment on that platform, or speaking, you know, in broad strokes and broad gestures negatively about queer folks, trans folks, black folks, or anything like that. The thing that's going on is that a lot of these platforms won't even come to the table to talk to these media groups about harassment on their platforms anymore. They used to be willing to come sit down at the table and be like, hey, what's going on here? How do we make this better? They just flat out refuse to now. So if these things are shifting, I do think it probably has a lot to do with them seeing an audience change. This thing that makes me sad is it's not because there are no policing of their behavior on the platform end. But I'll take anything that means that they're not spewing bile, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours a day on streaming sites, honestly, because I know far too many people who have been in the crosshairs of someone like Asmongold and how negatively it has affected their life. So yeah, I hope he takes a break and he looks inward, and maybe he does like some sort of retreat and comes back a different.
You know, for me, I think a lot of the problems with these platforms have to do with corruption. And what I mean by that is view botting is corruption. View botting is because the way things like Twitch work is the more viewers you have, the higher you are in the rank. And when people are browsing around or people are being recommended streams, we all, and I do too, I tend to look at streams that have higher viewership first, because that's almost like an endorsement. You know, it's like, oh, okay, 1,000 people are watching this streamer. He probably is pretty interesting or good at this thing he's streaming on. But if 70% of that is fake, you know, you're putting yourself in front of dozens of other creators who didn't bot. And so it creates this like environment of you're capturing the algorithm, you're capturing the recommendations, you're pushing yourself to the top, and you're making your viewpoints look more popular than they are. And it can create a cultural thing where other streamers start to orient toward the more popular streamers because you want to collaborate with them and you see them as so it creates all sorts of incentives that corrupt the entire platform and actually drive it to be less successful, because you're not seeing what people actually want to see. You're seeing what the botters are putting in front of you, are cheating. And so it drives away masses of people who are normal, because Asmongold's right-wing Nazi politics are very unpopular with most normal people, especially women. And so you're chasing away so many more viewers, like actual viewers, from the platform. And that's why I think, like, when you look at the platforms where there is a lot of engineering of the creators, so like Instagram is very, you know, they're very interventionist in their algorithm, right? And push right-wing shit. Whereas places like Twitch and TikTok, where they kind of just let the things be organically popular and they're focused on people staying on the website, that's the only thing they care about, is like actually making money with their platform, you see a lot more left-wing content. And so that, what do you think about that divide between like the Meta and the, like, you know, Google sites, and then sites like TikTok or Twitch, where the left is a lot more popular?
I think it's really interesting because, like, Twitter is another great example of this too, right? Like, Twitter used to be this sort of place where there was a lot of organizing done, especially during like 2020, during the Black Lives Matter protests. I mean, we were getting all of our news about where people were being kettled in New York City from Twitter. And the moment that Elon Musk bought it and started pulling back a lot of the, you know, the regulations in terms of harassment, in terms of dealing with bots, that place is now a cesspool of shit. And I finally quit it because I realized I can't change anyone's mind on there, and it was making me crazy. But it's really interesting to see that when you sort of leave the platform to its own devices and let it, obviously, I think TikTok is a little bit intense with its moderation in terms of like what they deem sexual content. You know, like they've blocked out butts and stuff before all the time. And Twitch can obviously be a little bit like that as well. But it is really interesting to see that when you sort of give people that marketplace of ideas to have a conversation in, and you don't allow bots to fill it, or you don't purposefully inflate right-wing reactionary content like it has been proven to be done on both YouTube and Twitter, look at what happens, and look at the way that these sites end up leaning. I think that's a pretty big marker in terms of seeing like where the actual real people go and what actual real people think.
And one of the things that I find really interesting is that the Democrats are so anti the websites where the organic left populist stuff is growing. Like, you'll see Democrats talking about how they need to get control of TikTok, right? You could see it with the chorus, you know, expose that Taylor, that's why I brought her on last week, was basically showing how the creators that were given billionaire money were the ones who don't talk about Gaza. They're the ones who don't challenge the Democratic Party, but rather are sycophantic. And so the Democratic Party is so concerned about a kind of like left-wing organic social media, alternative media ecosystem challenging their traditional media that's so they join with the right to suppress it. Whereas like on websites like, I mean, YouTube, it seems to me that YouTube pushes right-wing content.
It does.
Intentionally.
It does. It's been proven, yes, and it's been proven in studies that if you even have a slightly conservative leaning, it will send you towards more and more reactionary content. Like it will offer you on your timeline, whatever, suggested videos, more and more reactionary content. It will rabbit hole you. It's proven.
So let's bring it back to like the main topic, which was Asmongold kind of harassing this small indie developer around the game, Take Us North. Like, what do we not know about it? And like, what does it represent in the gaming industry? And how is the gaming industry reacting, if at all, from this like harassment campaign? And what can we do to counter it?
It's really frustrating because the video game industry, every time something like this happens, it's notoriously quiet. And I think there's an onus on these people who own these large companies who give. So this platform was given to, you know, the developers of Take Us North, Anima Interactive, and Carla Reyes, who is the head there. That platform was Gamescom. The platform was, hey, look, you can give a talk here. You know, there's some seed funding coming from Xbox, I think. Who knows if that's still happening. And the whole concept is you put this small creator, this small indie studio in the limelight on this platform. If you don't do anything to support them after that, you are in some ways complicit in what ends up happening to them. And this has happened a bunch before. And I think that's what's incredibly frustrating for people in the video game industry. So many of these companies are so hesitant to actually say, look, we stick with the people who are making this game. We stand up for the people who are working on this. We love the idea of more diverse ideas and stories being told, period, the end. But because they think that will affect their bottom line, they're often quiet. And so what happens in the case of Take Us North is you have a small indie studio run by someone who's not obviously like aggressively PR trained, who doesn't know what to do in this situation when they get brigaded. Because the moment that Asmongold made this video and started calling it an illegal immigration simulator and saying that she should be deported, even though she's a legal American citizen, she was getting harassed to such a point that they panicked. What else do they do in this scenario? And when they pull their accounts or they private their accounts, the right wing acts like this is some sort of dub, that this is some sort of win, that this is exactly what they wanted. And Asmongold is so close to admitting that he understands that he is in control of these harassment campaigns. He said in this video, the second video that he made about it, 2 days ago, I made a video and I talked about it and it got a lot of attention. It attracted a lot of attention. The girl who made it deleted her account. The company deleted their account. The Twitter's been shut down. The website's been shut down. The video on GameSpot has been privated. And he starts gloating like, this has been a complete fucking obliteration. Like, did I get the game deported or did I get it aborted? And it's like, this is the power that you wield and this is what you use it for. And this is one of dozens of examples of him doing this to people in the video game industry that don't have a fucking tenth of the platform that he has. And he does it with virtually no consequence. It's very frustrating.
So, I mean, one of the things that I would say about this is that he represents a kind of like anti-intellectualism and kind of what I would say is like almost the vulgar fascism of the Trump movement, which is he doesn't even bother making a point. Like, I watched a pretty long segment of the video and he's like, he kind of called it propaganda, which is to say that it had a political perspective that it was trying to pursue. But he doesn't even bother trying to say why having a game from the migrant experience is bad.
No, he doesn't.
Like, he doesn't even say why it's not valid from the point of view of logic. I mean, he made one statement that a lot of coyotes have abused migrants that are coming forward. And that is true. But the perspective is not one that we're not trying to be a evil coyote simulator. This is an experience of migrants going north, right? And maybe in the game, they'll have evil coyotes that you encounter. That's probably going to be a gameplay element, having to decide whether you're going to pay money to shady fuckers or take a more risky path on your own. Yep. Like, that's probably a gameplay element that explains why we need to create migrant processes that are a lot better than this, because the United States of America, up until, has always encouraged economic migrants to work in industries as second-class citizens. So this has been a long-term design feature of the system. And I always thought of Asmongold, he always championed himself as a, what's the word I'm looking for? Free speech absolutist. What happened to that?
I say this all the time. It's not free speech absolutism for them. It's the speech they want to hear. And that should be allowed to be completely unfettered, because it doesn't make any sense either. Like, if you even take 5 seconds to look at the history of games that have been released to try and, because a lot of people were complaining about this illegal immigration aspect of it. They're asking you to be an illegal immigrant. They're asking you, you're an illegal immigrant in like Grand Theft Auto 4.
Of course.
That's literally your character. And you do nothing but crime the whole time. And nobody goes, this is an illegal immigrant simulator that glorifies.
You do drug smuggling. Like
what are we doing?
Yes, no, of course. I mean, Grand Theft Auto is like one of those games where you are committing all of these crimes. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was like a migrant smuggling mission. You know what I mean? Like I can't recall in any of the Grand Theft Autos doing a migrant smuggling, but was it Nico from Grand Theft Auto? Like, what is that? Grand Theft Auto 4?
Nico Bellic was he was an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, he like literally but he was from Eastern Europe, so I guess he's white.
So of course he's not brown, so we're not worried about it. But it's just
he's white now. I mean, my ancestors would have not called him white, but
well, no one's ancestors would call me white either. I get that, a New York Italian baby. So we know
that's the thing that's so funny to me about this is if you obviously like Asmongold and the right wing in general is an anti-intellectual movement. It's a movement that objects to knowledge, and it has, and I think Asmongold kind of is the person for whom I consider to be the most entertaining example of what they really are, which is that they're offended that they have to learn. It's it is like a 13-year-old, a spoiled 13-year-old that never had to eat their vegetables, right? And the fact that you told them to eat their vegetables is bad, and that macaroni and cheese forever. It is Peter Pan syndrome, and we now have a culture where instead of being ashamed of it, instead of it being embarrassing to be that, it's now being kind of elevated as a political statement. It's being aggrandized of, I am not this way because I'm a pathetic fucking loser. No. He's that way because he's making a political stance against women or society or wokeness.
And what's interesting about this too is you get this, the gamers are a very interesting group in this because they for so long, well now for the last 20 years it hasn't been this case, but they're still trying to grip it with their, all of their life. They believe that they are a group that has been marginalized and mistreated by society. We're treated like we're losers. We're treated like we're idiots. And now that the games industry and gaming in general is not just reserved for basement dwellers who are strange and antisocial, there's this anger. There's this sort of stolen valor belief that all of these people who are normal are now in this industry and making games and playing games and talking about games, but they can also go outside and look someone in the eye and order a fucking coffee. And I can't do that. And I'm angry about it. And I'm furious. And I want to gatekeep this. And that's one of the biggest things that you see from all of these right-wing video game content creators is this belief that they should gatekeep all of these people out of the industry. It's exactly what they did with Gamergate 10, 11 years ago. And it's what they're doing again now. They obsessively monitor the jobs and lives of people who they deem to be a problem in this space. And they will ceaselessly call for them to no longer work or call for them to not have a job anymore.
Well, right. And the other thing is, like, I feel like as the influence of people like Asmongold have increased in the gaming industry, it's actually made it a lot worse.
Yes.
Because he's not really a gamer.
Not anymore.
Like, that's the thing. Like, that's what is really interesting about this is a lot of men. And I kind of, it's funny because I get it, right? Like, I am a gamer, I've been playing games for over 20 years, a lot longer than 20 years, 30 years, 35 years. But so I've been playing games for a very, very, very long time. And I remember how gaming crossed over from being kind of a niche thing that was embarrassing to be into like mainstream, your grandmother is playing games on her phone, right?
Yes.
So we've traveled quite a bit in the cultural milieu in gaming, and the values of what makes a good game have changed. But the problem is people like Asmongold, they are not fighting for what made gaming a subversive art form, a cutting edge art form, which was small independent creators, hacking things together and pushing the envelope. He's pushing us into crypto gambling and microtransactions and dopamine traps and daily quests and the world of gaming that World of Warcraft created, which is create this habitual addicted service game that you're showing up for because you have so much invested in it, and less so about a game that is fun to play. And Asmongold doesn't even play those games anymore. He doesn't play games anymore, and he's not competent. to play a game, let alone design one.
Yeah, there's this frustrating stance that like, and this was another major issue during the first Gamergate. The first person that became the sort of, you know, the impetus for this was Zoe Quinn, a game designer, and the anger of the gamers who had wrongfully accused them of sleeping with somebody at my former website to get a positive game review. The anger wasn't just that, it was that the game that they had made shouldn't be considered a game because it was like a
Right.
text-based game that was navigating what it felt like to have depression.
Well,
And
can I say something? Like, I'm old enough that we played text games. The original games were MUDs and text-based
Yes.
games, and you would type
Yes.
go north to well, look down in well. Okay. In fact,
they betray themselves at every corner.
I was just reminded of somebody recently of a game that was originally developed by the creator of Dwarf Fortress called Liberal Crime Squad.
Yes, you just said this to me yesterday.
I said that
think
to
that's
you
the
yesterday.
text game. Yeah,
Yeah. And it Liberal Crime Squad was basically you need to form a revolutionary cell to overthrow America, or basically get the liberal agenda, imposed in society. And it's been updated to Liberal Crime Squad New Age if you're interested in those kind of games, and it's completely free online, so go check that out. But those kind of games where you have a perspective, you have an experience, it's text-based, it's cerebral, it is, not just titties bouncing on the screen, which I'm in favor of titties bouncing on the screen. I know you are.
I love titties bouncing on the screen.
Exactly. Like that's the thing that's crazy. We are not scolds. We are not, Al Gore and Tipper Gore trying to ban, boobies or whatever. We want to have fun. We want creative art. They're the ones who are trying to cancel art and delete it.
And that's this inability to have any sort of cohesion, clarity, or consistency of thought and ideology is, I think, what's so incredibly frustrating about dealing with the new right online, the alt-right and gamers specifically, is that they are jellyfish spined. They will change everything that they stand for in order to get more clicks, more views, more likes on Twitter, because now they make money off of it. It makes absolutely no sense for these people to be the same people that signed petitions that you needed to see more of Eve from Stellar Blade's pussy lips in the game, to then be angry that there's a game pushing an ideology that they don't agree with. It's like, pick a fucking lane. Oh, wait, you can't. You shouldn't even be on the road. You shouldn't even be driving. But you have a platform and everyone's listening to you. It's completely inconsistent. It makes no sense whatsoever. And it's very difficult to understand how to combat that as well, because it's like you're grabbing all of these different directions to try and stop them from pushing misinformation about something that makes no sense compared to how they were acting just a week ago. It's insanity. It will drive you crazy. I don't think I'm crazy yet, but I'm certainly on the precipice of it. After dealing with this for over a year.
Yeah. I think you suffer from a condition that I also suffer, which is, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. You think that people value thought and argument more than a lot of people do, and this is something that I've always struggled with, because, most people are playing social games. They're not making these arguments because they make sense. They're making these arguments to display membership in a community or a group, right?
Yes.
And they're just grasping at whatever noise they can bark. And the moment that is no longer valuable, they discard it. This is postmodern conservatism. This is it, which is, arguments are not something that you are supposed to hold and believe in. They're weapons to be used against your enemy. And the enemy is whoever we collectively determine as an enemy. It's not a principled enemy. So that's why they could have all these contradictory views, because it's a social grouping, not a ideology or a thought. And this is where all of our brains are being melted, is because there are people like me who have an ideological goal and an ideological perspective and a political goal and a political perspective. I want, gaming producers to be co-ops and unionized. I want minimum wages to go up. I want crunch to be illegal. I want I want public money to be invested in gaming studios that are not capitalists. I want an extreme I want public, intellectual property laws to be loosened. I want all sorts of political programs and policies that have outcomes in the gaming space and in the political space, right? They don't have any of that. They don't believe in anything. It is about, and this is where the brain rot kicks in. There are algorithms, and what engages people to watch is what they're chasing.
Yep.
Right? And that's why there is like the anti-Hassan industrial complex, because there's a few thousand weirdo obsessives with Hassan. So if you make an anti-Hassan video, it instantly attract those eyes onto your channel, and you start making money off of it. And so you start doubling down. That's a social media strategy. I'm sure you've heard of this. When you have a viral moment, you create something that's very derivative and you double down because you're in people's algorithm and you'll get more views. And so we are operating in this weird space where you have people like me and Hassan who have real political goals and objectives. And we're sharing space with people like Asmongold who are just, virtue signaling a group and chasing an algorithm for money. Sorry for going on a long monologue, but that's what I've been thinking.
You're totally right. And I think just me coming to terms with that, because also from like a journalistic perspective, I did speak to Carla Reyes from the Anima Interactive, the Take Us North game, immediately after this started, because somebody else who has been through this, who I am friends with, recommended she speak to me. And I was like, now, not me being like the person that everybody goes to when they start getting attacked online, like as if I have the tools. Group. I don't even have the tools. I don't even have the right answer to you. And like, I won't talk in detail about what we spoke about, but she was obviously very upset. When you are not someone who is like us, who is like unfortunately very online brained and very plugged into all of this, getting that level of harassment. Again, you also have to understand that she spoke at Gamescom at a B2B portion of this event. This was a business to business portion of the event. And what these people do is because they consider themselves to be fucking Sherlock Holmes of the internet, because I think they all have carbon monoxide poisoning. They obsess over
cockroach shit poisoning.
Literally. They obsess over all of these B2B events, and they crawl through all of the events to try and see, oh, what was this talk about? Who was leading it? What was that? Can we pull something from this that might turn into a controversy? I don't think Carla or anyone at her team expected this to be anything other than her doing a presentation to her peers. And so for her, who was not expecting this to break containment, especially not end up in, the nuclear territory that is Asmongold, it is incredibly fucking overwhelming. And most people don't have the tools, both actual physical tools in order to keep their identifying information offline, and just like the actual mental health tools to deal with this shit. And I think that's what makes me frustrated and angry as a journalist who's seen this happen time and time again, is that there doesn't seem to be anything in place to protect people who face this and to offer any sort of consequence for people who impart it. And I think I've always said that I want to make rage bait no longer lucrative, but that can't happen until the platforms enforce some level of rules against that. And I don't know if they will.
I think that I think the real issue is that I hate to bring it back to my hyperfixation, but we have a capitalist society, so there is an inherent desire by the capitalists to promote right-wing ideology.
Yep.
Right? Like if they allow their algorithms to just be meritocracies, and they just allow, they give equal money to whatever's creative, whatever's popular, they're kind of creating the institutions that are going to reduce their profitability. They're creating the institutions that are going to help organize their defeat. So there is just a continual looking for a populist right-wing group to promote in order to maintain their hegemonic status. And you can kind of see how the Republican Party has embraced all of these contradictory right-wing populist takes, but ultimately they know who's really in charge. It's
Yeah.
the billionaires.
Yep.
And so all of this is there to just kind of cook up a popular base for the right. And so expecting these platforms, I think we'll have to impose on these platforms
Yes. Yes.
institutional controls or break them up or nationalize them. And you know, hold them in some sort of like independent, non-political but state-owned status, like PBS or something, because before that got ruined by Trump. But you get my point. Like,
yes, well, because this is where people get their news from now. They are getting their news from platforms that are not vetting any of this information and are incentivizing people to lie and create drama for money. And you know, your Gam who already struggles with media literacy is reading on Facebook some absolutely ridiculous AI generated nonsense, and she walks away believing it. And you know, the platforms have always had a sort of techno libertarian take, in the sense of like, you know, laissez-faire, leave us be, you know, technology is a net good for society. We don't want government interference, and any speech that happens on the platform is free speech. We're not responsible for it. And that is the kind of ideology that has allowed them to become these spaces, especially under Trump, when now they're all sitting behind him at the inauguration and glazing him at dinner, where they know that they are going to make more money in his world, that they're not going to police their sites or their platforms at all. And you're right.
No, they are. They're going to police them for, I don't know if you saw that, you know, I don't know if you saw that TikTok hired a like Zionist for their safety, trusted safety, to start installing the same kind of regimes that already exist on YouTube.
Yep.
Right. Which are pro right wing, you know, inserting more Zionists into people's algorithms. If you're like a pro-Palestinian person, they've put in interstitials about Gaza being a developing situation that doesn't exist for any other content. And they're, you know, they're beginning to capitulate to the government's efforts to contain the anti-Israeli and, you know, left-wing sentiment. So that, I mean, not to get too pessimistic.
No,
I don't think it's working. I think it's failing to work.
I think you're not pessimistic. I think you're just a realist. But I do wonder like how you feel, especially doing what you do, and like you and Hassan really being the two biggest like left voices in this space. How has it felt for you from a like creation perspective over the last 8 months, seeing maybe this sort of shift?
I would say that I was always skeptical of it, and I always felt that like Ethan Klein's and the Asmongold's and the Tectones of the world were going to suffer a big damage because they're so out of step with where people actually are. And I think they overplayed their hands and they felt themselves a little bit too much, and it's going to result in long-term consequences. I will say this. I also do think that there is kind of a mental health crisis among everybody. I think there's a lot of left-wingers that have kind of... The Gaza genocide has been a really disillusioning moment. And it's causing a lot of people to kind of spin out in ways that I think are not productive, and kind of engage in a lot of like infighting behavior, a lot of like the desire to create left-wing lifestyleism, kind of like split off, you know, and form, you know, a communalist philosophy where we have a safe space and we are a counterculture, as opposed to engaging with politics and where people actually are. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's always an urge on the left. If you don't know what I mean by communalism, chat, or you know, or communard, or I think commutard, like I think that's what it's literally called, where these are people that are like, I'm going to form socialism in my own little group. We're going to set up a commune. We're going to set up our own settlement, and we're going to kind of close ourselves off to the rest of the world. And we're going to focus on building our own little slice of socialism. And I'm not a communalist. I am not a communard or whatever, however you say it. Like I'm against that. I think that that's wrong. I think we need to be engaging with everybody and trying to raise class consciousness. So just to try to bring it back to the premise of your question. I'm optimistic and I'm pessimistic. You know, I'm wondering about how the left is actually going to be able to get its shit together and take advantage of this opportunity where trust in the Democrats, trust in the establishment, trust in American society is dipping, and people are looking for an alternative. And I hope that those people that have a desire to withdraw from society don't gain prominence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I see them doing. I see those people actually rising quite a bit more than I thought. And that's what makes me a little bit concerned.
I have seen, you know, on a certain scale, some of these, you know, because you know the term Mountweazel, right? I believe that's the term.
No, explain it to me in the chat.
Yeah. It's I believe that's the term. Let me make sure I'm saying it right. A Mountweazel is let me look up the actual definition. It's like a small piece of information that acts as like a trap. I forget exactly. We've used it differently we've used it in a specific way in my legal filing, which I am currently going through. But this idea is like someone like Asmongold, who has a very large audience, he says something. Let's say he decides to attack Take Us North. And then all of the content creators in the triangle of which he is at the top that are, you know, downwind of him slightly and trying to cannibalize that same audience are repeating the things that he says, and thus obviously you know, codifying it into internet law that it's true or whatever. It's one of the reasons why if you Google my name, the websites of this person that I am currently engaging in litigation against is like the first 3 things that come up. And it's because they have flooded, you know, the internet with all of this stuff about me. And what's frustrating in this kind of scenario is that you know, it just keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated until it becomes true. You've seen this happen with, you know, lies about you or lies about Hassan or lies about Denims, you know, all of these things that have now been treated as true, like Denims, the allegation that Denims called, you know,
CPS.
Child Protective Service. Yeah.
Right.
Like that is like repeated with such clarity of thought from these people that they're so obvious. They believe it to be 100% true. It is the truth, and she cannot say anything otherwise about it, even though it's completely not true and it's been proven to be not true. The only little bit of like light at the end of a tunnel that I have seen is I have seen some of these smaller content creators complaining about their numbers dwindling on YouTube, which is where a lot of them do similar to what Asmongold does. They chop up their live streams and they just, you know, publish them as like 10-minute long videos about whatever topic they were talking about. I have seen some of them complaining about YouTube, you know, their numbers dwindling, them maybe taking hits in terms of searchability. But what's incredibly frustrating is being incapable of like making it very clear to people that the 9 times out of 10, that person saying that absolutely insane thing on Twitter or on YouTube is doing so to have interaction, to get interaction, to then therefore get more money. And there's almost like we need to starve them in a sense of not replying to like a random blue check, but we also need to be saying flat out that this is wrong, but it's hard to do without replying to them. It's this really fucked up scenario that I found myself so caught up in that I was like, I think the only thing I can do is quit Twitter.
Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts on this because this is something that a lot of people will opine on when they don't know what they're talking about. And my general feeling on this is I think Hassan's response to Ethan Klein proves the effectiveness of taking these fights to where the people are. Yes. So Ethan Klein wants to engage in kind of like, he wants to smear Hassan and me as anti-Semites and evil genocide supporters or whatever, right? If we just stayed silent, this is an obsessed man with a large platform. And if he doesn't get any incoming fire, he's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And so I feel like the way that Hassan, myself, people like Denims, we responded, you know, and there's a bunch of others, Noah Samson, etc. Our responses actually worked. And in fact, they rallied people. And then all of the viewers of Ethan Klein were forced to confront the cognitive dissonance of they are part of the larger culture that is, especially online, pro-Palestine, right?
Yeah.
And they were forced to confront the fact that Ethan Klein is a virulent Zionist. And I think that caused permanent structural damage to his community.
Yeah, I mean,
and
yes.
and his stream. And we were able to succeed. Now, I don't think that that's always the best strategy. But with somebody like Ethan Klein, if you have the opportunity to kind of like expose him for having a position that is so against the zeitgeist of where the internet is, then it's useful to do. I think where the problem is when you are a smaller creator and you are being turned into a lolcow, and you're being and you are trying to do the thing where you make arguments and you're like, my arguments are perfect and they're logically consistent and they're in line with, you know, I've caught you at hypocrisy, and you're doing that and they're not listening to words.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care
this
about
is something
words.
that I've experienced because I don't have the platform that you guys have. That's what I find really interesting is it doesn't matter what I say in these scenarios or what other smaller, especially journalists, right? Journalists, by and large, aside from the Taylor Lorenzes, don't have platforms at a level of content creators. And so when you become the center of like an attack and you're trying to journalism your way out of it, it doesn't work.
Yeah. See, they don't care about words.
Exactly.
Right? They're here to play. And even if you own them in the marketplace of ideas, they're just going to be like, well, you know, who cares about that? Trump's president. We're going to deport you. Like, they're not engaged in an intellectual pursuit, and you are engaged in intellectual pursuit. So you need to, for those people, just recognize them as enemies. Be comfortable with that. You know, people need to be comfortable with recognizing them as like not someone that could be won over, and is honestly not doing this because they believe in something. They're doing it because their life has no meaning and they're desperate for community. They're desperate for purpose, and they have aligned their identity with this gamer subculture.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you're not able to reach those people. So fundamentally, it's about existed spaces and places where you are going to be able to gain strength and find comrades that you could fight alongside, instead of being, you know, tilting at windmills and you know, going by yourself, because then it's just not to do too many references, but it's the Charge of the Light Brigade. Like, yes, you look good, you're right, but you're getting shot down.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah,
so,
and I think what's you know, from a perspective of most journalists, especially in the video game space, there is still a huge chunk of them who are scared to kind of join in a group together and be like, this is fucked up and this is annoying. I mean, there are still whole websites that don't want to touch talking about any of this stuff because they don't want the smoke. And I understand it in some ways as well. It can be incredibly frustrating. But what I find fascinating and what I think more people should be talking about is the intrinsic connection between the gamers and harassment, in a sense of like the gamification of harassment. This sort of number go bigger, I got more, I ratioed you, I made you rage quit Twitter and block me, I win. And that is so intrinsically connected to like the cultural issues in gaming as well. And I think there's so much to unpack and talk about there. But when you have those conversations in spaces for video game journalists, there's this sort of hesitancy, this sort of like, I don't know if I want to go anywhere near that. And it's almost like, well, guys, you're not looking at the dark spot in the corner, but it's getting fucking bigger. It's getting bigger. Like, what do we do?
I would say that I feel like there's been a realignment in the force. You know, I feel like there was a moment where they felt like they were feeling it, but I think like the reality is that Kick is a botted platform. 90% of the views are bots.
Yep.
There's not a lot of money outside of filtering your community into crypto gambling, and if you do that, you're going to destroy the lives of your audience. It's not going to replicate.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, it is draining people. And as you can see, people like XQC, like he's taken quite a hit from being so associated with Kick. Same thing with Trainwreck. Same thing with all these guys, you know, Aiden Ross, you know, they're desperate to get on Twitch. They're desperate for mainstream relevance. And I feel like you have a lot of people with these bad intentions, and we had a pendulum swing moment. Maybe I'm just being optimistic, but I feel like we're having a pendulum swinging back.
I hope so.
And so, as Take Us North, this is definitely a game that I'm interested in promoting. I'm sure that we could get other people to do it.
Yes.
My main advice for them would be make the game.
Yep, 100%.
Make the game, because when you have the game, then I can rally around something.
Yep.
And right now they're just being attacked by guys who have harassment communities fighting a target. That's what they do. What we do is like have community and play games. So if you want us to that's my only advice, is like, please keep the project. If they need to raise more money, that's something that we might be able to do. But
yes. Yeah, I know they hit their Kickstarter goal a while ago. And what's crazy too is that, like, the article about them in Wired came out months before Asmongold even knew what it was, and it just came out, and that was it. And they were able to build
doesn't
off
read
of that.
fucking journalism.
Well, I know that most of the time he only gets something, across his disgusting desk if somebody puts it on his subreddit. Which is something that I've been looking into with people who have faced it. I've spoken to over 20 people in the video game space who he has centered that are not large content creators, that are in most cases independent indie devs, smaller journalists, community managers. And what they've almost all of them have been like, yeah, I made this thing, or I posted this thing, or I said this thing. Nothing happened for a couple of days. It ended up on Asmongold's subreddit or on r/gaming. And then he covered it, and boom, here's all the horrible shit I got. And it's just, it's a pattern of behavior the whole way through. And I'm just hoping that his little break means that some people will maybe not face that for a couple of weeks.
Well, I do find it interesting that all these breaks, line up.
Are happening now, yeah.
While the bots are being, there's an intensive anti-bot effort at Twitch. And you can kind of tell that us left-wing creators, none of us have bots. I mean, it's something that I've pointed out before that I found odd, which would be like, I've had more subs than Asmongold for a significant number of months, because I guess he doesn't try to get subs is what is the cope. But like, somebody like a better comparison with me as far as apparent size would be something like Tectone, and he has the subscriber count of somebody who has like a quarter of my viewers.
Yep.
So it's like, I think maybe a lot of this is a small, hardcore audience that is plugged into harassing. Because if you have 1,000 people that are actually dedicated to harassing, that's a lot, but it's also not a lot.
No. And I can see look, I am so plugged into this that I am on the posting forums that nobody should ever go to, crawling through this stuff all the time. And like on like, because they've tried to locale me, they've tried to locale like Anissa, and we've talked about this as well.
Yeah.
They have entire sections of websites dedicated to posting about us and monitoring everything that we've ever done. I joke that they probably know my menstrual cycle at this point, and it's because everything that I do, they are posting about it. And I can see from the interaction on there that it's really only like a dozen dudes obsessively monitoring behavior on that one site. And then there are people who make YouTube videos who go to that site for content. If somebody finds an old picture of me, then suddenly it's in a YouTube video of somebody who's probably not posting on this website, but who is regularly reading it. So it is a lot smaller than I think people think. It's just that guise of the internet, of bots, because a lot of the replies as well on like when I was still on Twitter were so very obviously bot accounts or like newly made sock puppet accounts, that it really just is a small group of people with way too much fucking time on their hands, that it's not nearly as large as it may seem. And I think that's what you're pointing to in terms of seeing like their actual viewership, except the only thing that is still really huge is how many fucking views Asmongold's YouTube videos get. Like he's hitting high numbers on these videos.
Definitely. Well, I mean, they're being pushed by YouTube.
Exactly.
It's really that simple. Like, you know, it's not like the content is any good. I mean, it's like him reacting to somebody else's video and going, "Oh, base."
Or he goes like,
"Oh my god, that's so cringe, man."
I really
woke.
hope somebody handles this stuff. This pseudo intellectualism, like I.
It's not even intellectual. It's not even pseudo because like or not even like intellectualism at all, or pseudo or otherwise, because he'll just say stuff like, well, people are saying this, and I'm seeing it become a lot more popular. And it's like, bro, stand 10 toes down on something, you fucking loser, you coward. Like, say what you believe.
He won't.
What are you doing, buddy? Come on, say something.
I don't think he believes anything. I don't think anybody who
thinks believing in something is a sign that you're cringe.
And I really would love to say that I pity that. I mean, him and I spoke once in DMs after he was banned. I DM'd him and I was like, and he had said that after he was banned about the Palestine shit, he had kind of said something like, you know, I realize that I need to be, you know, smarter with what I say, and that was screwed up. And I was like, all right, dude, like, I really hope that you take this time to like consider everything and get better, and like know that you have a really large audience and there's like a responsibility with that, man. And like, good luck, you know, like, obviously he had already shit on me so many times on videos that I like didn't even owe him that. And just for him to come back and be worse. That's
just some fucking liberal shit, man.
It's
like,
just such a sign.
That's such a liberal shit. Like, no, I get it. It's very empathetic of you to say that. I took the opposite tack, which is like, I'm
not taking that tack anymore.
No, my reaction to that video was I made him do this. He had to do a groveling apology for me in Twitch. Like, he had to get on his knees for the left. Look at how we broke this man.
Well, this is why
look at how he had to crawl around on his hands and knees begging for forgiveness
in the filth. But this is why I'm trying to make this piece about, you know, all of the people that he's attacked, because I really want this to be so clear that like every single time this man decides that he wants to cover something disparagingly, the person who he covers and centers gets a wave of fucking harassment. And I want him to literally look at the numbers and look at them in the fucking face. And I don't care if he tells me he doesn't care. It's just irrefutable. Like, I need you to understand that you are pointing harassment at all of these fucking people. This person had 5,000 followers on Twitter and you shit on them. They asked you to remove a video. You removed it, and then you made a video shitting on them about removing it, which you knew would make all your little sleuthy followers find them and harass them more. And it's like, fuck you, man. Like, get up out of the house, take care of your fucking dad, clean your fucking house. Take a second, dude.
Okay, hold on. We have one of your haters. They say Alyssa attacks and harasses gamers that cries when she gets attacked and harassed back. Peak irony. Okay, you have to be. I mean,
this is what I mean.
You're doing cry bullying. I'm sorry for reading that chat. I think it's very useful for the discussion.
It's 100% useful. This is their number one thing that they like to say.
Because it's just nonsense, right? Like, if you attack someone and they respond, they're not the same as you. Okay?
Hello?
Like, you are the attacker. You're the liar. You're the fraud, right? Oh, people respond. That's called defense. That's called self-defense. And they're completely legitimate. And guess what? Doing investigations of a harassment group or a stalker or somebody involved in a harassment site and exposing them to the same level of scrutiny that they use on others is called comeuppance. It's being hoisted by your own petard. You don't get to complain if you're on a harassing doxing website that you get exposed and your identity revealed. That's called reciprocity. That's called normal behavior. That is consequences. All right.
Yep. And it's also this belief that like you attack gamers as if like I'm fucking bombing gaming headquarters that all these people live in. Just because I'm telling you that this group of people, a certain group of gamers, behave in a certain manner, and I think that it's fucked up, is not me, you know, essentially doing a bombing campaign on your HQ and where you live. I think they believe that anybody asking them for a measure of accountability and to chill on this behavior is harassment. And I think it's really, really funny. Like, I wrote an article, I published that article, I was sent some of the worst shit in the world, I was doxxed, and then I turned around and told a couple of them that they were fucking ugly, and you think that's the same thing? Like, what are we talking about?
Well, you know, first of all, I don't think that anyone should ever, ever, ever feel bad for going after the right wing. In fact, I think the big problem that we have is that we're too nice. And what I mean by that is that a lot of people think that if you're willing to just take it infinitely, turn the other cheek forever, people kind of think that maybe you don't believe in what you're saying. Like maybe you have low confidence. It's like when you're constantly trying to appeal to the right, you're kind of implicitly saying that they have a truth value, right? You're kind of implicitly saying that they're strong and that they're winners.
Yes.
And
yes.
I don't think we should
in the
stop doing that.
Low, we go
these
high.
losers.
I don't believe in any of that shit. I don't believe in any of that shit. I have stood 10 toes down on all of this shit from the fucking beginning. And what's very interesting is to see people who consider themselves to be left-leaning or liberal, see them tuck their tails between their legs, or tell me to be quiet, or tell me to just leave it alone, or maybe not want to hire some people full-time who have been mouthy about this because they don't want to deal with the consequences of it. And at a certain point, it can't just be me being loud about this shit. And you can't, you just have to stick up for it because these people are jokes and you should treat them as jokes. They are jokes. And I am going to laugh at them. If you are sending me horrific, R-word threats and along with my address, I'm going to say that you probably don't floss or let the water run
did somebody, okay. The same guy brought up burning Teslas, bro.
Oh my God.
Bro, that's not real. That's
and
not
also
real.
Just like you're
also,
worried
who
about
gives
like
a fuck?
It's a
Cars
piece
burn all the
of fucking
time.
property. Yeah, what are we talking about?
Well, who gives a fuck?
Insurance.
You have insurance. It's fine. You'll be okay.
Same thing every time. They all argue over this. There's a few women who are in this space. Pick me is a terminology that is very easily used for them. That also make YouTube content that all say the same thing. They attacked gamers. What did they expect? Like you're not a monolith. You're not like one thing. I didn't fly a plane into the gaming twin towers. Like I just told you that some of you behave like dickheads and you believe conspiracy theories that are not true. But this whole you attack gamers, this is what you get back. That's not how this works.
Yeah,
we're reporting on things and behaviors. Nobody's listing, every single gamer that's ever done something wrong on a website and going, here's all their address and information, go attack them.
Well, this is a traditional fascist conception, which is that the enemy is both weak and strong. But when they say, and here's the important thing to understand, the enemy is not strong. That's why you've been picked. Unfortunately, fascists don't pick strong enemies. They are cowardly. And what is the number one predictor of somebody being conservative politically is if they have a fear problem, meaning they have excessive obsessive anxiety and fear. If they spend a lot of time fantasizing about being a victim or being attacked or losing things, that is a good predictor of conservatism. And I really think that conservatism is oftentimes an untreated anxiety disorder, because
paranoia levels as well that
are paranoia, fear.
Yep.
I mean, that's why you'll hear them talk about cities being dangerous and public transit being dangerous and stuff. And like a lot of them just are fearful, cowardly, and socially isolated.
Yes.
So that causes dips it. Like I am, I think about this stuff from the point of view of like, how do I explain it materially? How do I understand it? I spend less time thinking about the interpersonal, like reaching out to them. And I found that like success breeds, that's attractive, right? Winning is attractive. Seeming like you are living a good life is attractive. It's not attractive to go and try to like appeal to people and like cater to them. And if we want to counter the right, we have to make being right wing cringe. We have to make, nobody wants to fuck a right wing guy. Like they're like that's unattractive to be a gator guy. And that, if that's how you want your life to be, if you want to live the life of Asmongold without the money,
you already do.
Be my guest.
You already do, most of you. And this is what I think you and I have talked about this before too, is like, look, obviously it is terrifying to get death threats and there was an attempt at a SWAT. I only had the police come to my apartment. It wasn't like a bunch of them, but, that is all very scary. And like, I have moved and I am hoping that remains, under wraps for some time. So I feel a little bit higher of a level of comfort. But in reality as well, the belief that the, several dozen or so people who are obsessed with monitoring me are going to leave their house in whatever flyover state they're from and come to New York City and get on the subway and find my apartment is laughable.
Yeah, it is.
You're going to ask someone you don't know how to get on the subway? You're not even going to leave the house, brother. Your hand is going to shake as you go to turn the knob to leave the house.
Asmongold is afraid to order cheeseburgers in person. Like, this guy is not leading anything, okay? But, I mean, I go out a lot. I'm out and about all the time. And, Hassan, or, knock on wood, I hope nothing ever happens to him. But the reality is, like, the guy live streams himself going to places of civil disturbance.
Yes.
And the most that's ever happened is somebody tweeted, messaged a bunch of messages out of Discord about how nervous they were. And then they went up to him and said, H3 is right, and ran away. Like, that is like, these guys are not exactly intimidating. And, this
is why I said this when it all first started happening. And it's what I got in so much trouble for at my old job, because I was making this sort of like sweeping statement of like, if you really think the games industry isn't diverse, then you can come fight me about it. Like, genuinely, let's have a boxing match.
If I get into a fight from a viewer, it's going to be an anarchist mad at me because I said that anarchist praxis is wrong. You know what I mean?
Yes,
I'm more likely to get punched by an anarchist than I am a right winger.
I mean,
a million times over. Like, honestly,
a man got in a fight with me at a hockey game, completely unrelated to gaming, because he was angry that his team lost, my team won, and he was screaming slurs. And I told him to stop screaming slurs. And he got in my face and I got in his face. And the moment I got back in his face, he got quiet. So it's like, I don't know. I stand on business in every realm, in the digital, in the physical. I believe in what I stand for. I believe that you should not harass people. I believe that you should allow diverse folks to have a voice in these spaces. And I believe that you're a complete fucking loser if your entire personality is complaining about wokeness in video games. And I don't believe that the bar that I work at for extra cash would ever see somebody like you shadow its fucking doorway.
No, of course not. Yeah, no, of course not. Right.
You're a loser.
If these guys were going to bars, they wouldn't be raging over Take Us North. Yeah, like, they wouldn't give a fuck. They would have a social life. I mean, and here's the thing, like, I don't just say this because I want to make fun of people for not having a social life, because I actually do empathize with that, and it's something that I think about a lot as a crisis. Yes. I'm not one of those people who is like anti-internet. I think the internet has a lot of good potential, and I think a lot of good has come from the internet. But I do think that we are becoming a little bit of prisoners to our screens, and we're becoming more withdrawn. Even people like me who are gregarious.
Yes.
I spent a lot more time on screens than I did 20 years ago.
Yes.
Like, it's just a reality. It's addictive. Like, I'm addicted to a lot of these of apps. I use them a lot.
100%.
But I also do shit in real life, and I have friends, and I go out and I go to parties, and it is a difficult thing on how do we construct these same kind of social networks that have now died out. How do we rebuild in-person connection? Because I think being isolated does make you more right-wing and less empathetic.
100%. And this is why, this is why I have to go in 5 minutes, because I'm going to a Yankee game like a person, like a human person. And that's why when Zoran was that's why I knocked doors for Zoran, because I found that having conversations with people in person were literally, there were people who were on the fence about him, and people who didn't understand him, and people who didn't understand me, what I was coming at them for, what I was talking to them about. And it was just a matter of a 5-minute conversation. There was only one person that was openly hostile to me, and they were a fucking Zionist. So of course I expected that. Like, everybody else wanted to talk. And I think that's another thing too. Like, at this point now, it's gone on for too long that I don't think I can talk to a lot of these people. But like, I truly think that if there was a conversation had, and that was also why a lot of them were leaking DMs, like a lot of these right-wing content creators, I would DM them because I'm not trying to fight with you for clout. I don't give a fuck about this. I'm trying to show you that the thing that you believe is demonstrably wrong, in this case, this conspiracy theory, and that what you are doing peddling it is promoting harassment. So I'm DMing you to tell you to fucking stop because it's stupid.
Well,
And then
I
they
mean,
would leak
again,
it, and it's like,
it's their
fuck!
bag, though. You know,
Yeah.
you know, you can't convince you can't convince someone something is wrong if their paycheck depends on them not knowing it's wrong. You know what I mean? Like or I mean, I don't know how much time you spent around antisocial personality. You know, I have spent quite a lot of time around it.
I have. I've also, I used to work with kids, some of whom were
Troubled.
quite troubled. So yes, I have.
So what I would say, Chad, is a lot of people who have antisocial personality, they create narratives to justify victimizing others.
Yep.
Typically, you know, like my experience, they come down to like two large categories. I'm sure there are more, but the two that I heard the most was everybody does it. Everybody does this. I'm no different, you know. And sometimes they'll make it a system argument. Sometimes they'll say that, you know, I know this person does this, so I'm just doing what everyone else does. I'm no different than everyone else when they harm someone. Or they'll say it's good to harm people because the people that get harmed are weak and lesser. And this is survival of the fittest. I'm better, so I'm strong. They're weak. The strong do what they want. And I feel like a lot of these guys are cosplaying those kind of personalities. They're putting this like, I'm the big bad, you know. That's kind of the fascist fantasy that Trump is employing with our foreign policy, right?
Yep.
It's like, America's strong, so America's gonna fuck these countries over, and we're gonna take their oil, and nobody's gonna stop us. And so fundamentally, it's about, you know, when I know I'm dealing with somebody that's like that, I'm not doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you for trying.
I've given up.
But it's just like these guys,
I've given up.
They need to feel pressure, not empathy. Millions of people have tried to show empathy to these guys. Millions of people have tried to show empathy to Asmongold. You know how many people have been like, oh, Asmongold, you should really get a maid. Oh, Asmongold, you should go to the dentist. Hey, oh, Asmongold, you should really speak to a therapist or maybe a doctor, you know, or maybe someone can like find you a new home and remodel this or like whatever the fuck.
You're
like,
a millionaire.
Exactly. There is a billion people that have tried to help him.
No, I'm done. I'm done having empathy for any of these people. I'm done getting in little tit for tat arguments with them. I am focused on continuing to do my work, getting through my legal stuff that I believe will be important for internet harassment situations going forward, and remaining a hot person who has a great life off of the internet.
I hope you have a great life on the internet as well. Thank you so much. Is there anything more that we should be looking for? You want to do a little bit of a shill on your way out?
Oh my God. So I am on Twitch. That's Alyssa Merc. Just my first name and the first four of my last. I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays covering video game and tech news, and then I usually play a game. You can catch my freelance work in Rolling Stone, The Guardian, Aftermath. I am reviewing a Ghost of Yote for Rolling Stone in a couple of weeks. Go look for that. And also, if you're in New York, make sure you are registered to, it's too late for you to be registered, but make sure you go out and vote for Zora.
Wait, I think you can register for November, can't you?
Oh yeah, maybe you can. Maybe I was thinking of for the primary.
Yeah, the primary is over.
You should still be able to register.
Yeah, you can still, I think you still can.
And look, at least Adams hasn't dropped out, which is a good thing for us because they'll split the douchebag vote between Adams and Cuomo.
Well, he's bargaining hard for the bribe.
I know. But we're hoping
it's October 25th. Is your registration deadline
still time to register.
You still got a couple months, but just do it now if you're in New York. And
go register.
If I come out east for November,
maybe
we could do a canvas or something. How's that sound?
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to. And
we'll do
again,
GOTV,
thank you so much.
You know.
You know how hard it is for people to build platforms on this to people to build audiences on this platform, specifically partially because of fucking botting and because of the front page and there's no discoverability on Twitch. So I appreciate you so much. Ever since I left full-time journalism work, I have been trying to figure out different ways to, you know, impart my knowledge to people. And so thank you for bringing me on, and you've sent people my way before, and it means a lot.
Well, I'm happy to do so. Thank you so much for coming on, Alyssa. You're the best. Keep up the good fight. Keep your head up. And everyone should check out your stream.
Yay.
I'm looking for a late night streamer right now, chat. That's my Who is your favorite late night streamer?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's a good
I'm
one.
too old to stay up late, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm too old too. Yeah, I'm too old.
I closed the bar the other day and I was like 2 a.m. I can't fucking do this.
Well, you're already on the you know, the late shift.
God, am I gonna go back to that? Maybe I will. Who knows? Thank you so much, man. And,
all right,
and
I'll see
chat,
you.
you're all the best. Bye,
See
guys.
you soon. Bye bye.
Be good.